Hello, I'm Lana McAra, and I help people feel younger. Welcome to Now It's My Turn, coming to you from the greater Philadelphia area. We're here every Friday afternoon on YouTube, and today we're talking about money. Money is a big topic, and we're going to talk about it in a new and a fresh way today, so I'm excited for our guest. Our purpose each week is to open the door for the 50-plus woman to live a life she absolutely loves. Today's 50-plus woman is vibrant, alive, filled with passion, purpose, and she's a powerful force for good in the world. And we're here to unleash that power by breaking through social programming, because we're not half done. We're just getting started. So we want each woman to say, now it's my turn. Now it's my turn. Because at this phase of life, all those got tos and shoulds are all complete or pretty much complete. I'm talking about kids, career, all that stuff. Now we have an open road in front of us. We're healthy. We're vibrant. We got strength. We got wisdom from experience. We got a lot to say, and we got a lot to offer. And so that brings up two questions. First of all, who am I? Who am I now in this place in my life? I'm not talking about the roles. I could say, I'm a mom, I'm a teacher, I'm a this, I'm a that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about what's in here. And then the second question, what do I want? What do I really want? I find that a lot of times women don't ask that question. We're always asking everyone else, what do you want? What do you need? What do you think? What do you want? And when I ask women that, a lot of times they give me a blank stare like, what? I know the first time someone asked me that, I didn't know what to say. And so what do you want? What do you want? If you get clear on that, then you can start to head for it. If you don't really know what you want, you're just going to wander and you're not really going to get anywhere, are you? So let's get your pen and paper. Write down your intention for today. Message a friend. Let them know that we're here. And be sure to subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And like this video if it gives you some help. And then share it. Get that link. Share it over there on Facebook. Share it wherever. And get some other people in here to hear this great, great message. Okay, today we are going to start, as we always do, with our heart-space connection. And so let's just take a moment to breathe, take a nice deep breath, and then settle down into wherever you're sitting. If you're lying down, just feel what's under you and get grounded a little bit. And as you do that, in your breathing and relaxing, just focus on the heart space and feel your loving energy just welling up out of your heart. Such a warm and beautiful energy. It feels good to bring up loving energy. And then as it comes up, let it fill your whole chest. Just let it fill you up. And you fill up with love, and that love just keeps on growing from the top of your head to the bottoms of your feet, out to the ends of your fingers. Just let love fill you up. I think we should all do this at least once a day. When you fill yourself with love, your immune system gets stronger. Stress goes down. It's really simple, isn't it? And now let that loving energy just come right out of your body and let it fill the room from the ceiling to the floor, wall to wall. Just fill the whole room with your love. Just let it expand. That's right. And now let it expand and fill the entire building, wherever you are. House, apartment building, condo, hotel, from the roof to the basement, all the way out. Every nook and cranny filled with love. And now let your loving energy just go right out over the area. Just imagine it like waves just going out over the housing developments and the education facilities and the hospitals and the retail centers. Just wafting out. And you know, the HeartMath Institute tells us this is a real thing. Sometimes when we do these processes on the broadcast, we use pretend games. Pretend games really help us sometimes. This is not a pretend game. This is real because they've measured it with instruments. When you let your heart space swell, there's actual energy that goes out and the crime rate goes down. People are helped. And so let it just go out over the entire area. Just imagine the area that you're in, your town, your city, county, wherever you are. And then let your loving energy just fill the entire continent now, sea to sea, all the way across. Wherever you are, North America, South America, Asia, Europe, Africa, Australia. Let your loving energy just go out. And one of the reasons I love doing this part is because when your energy crosses mine, we connect. And we have that loving connection. And then the healing for one becomes a healing for all. And we're better together than we are alone. And it doesn't matter if you're listening later, earlier, whenever you're listening, it doesn't matter. We're all in the now. We are all connected. And now let your loving energy just go all the way around the globe and back. And there we go. The earth is covered with love. And we can do it at any time. That's right. Okay, well, let's get our guest in here. I'm excited. It'll take a second. All right, let's see how we can do this now. All righty. Kelly, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Lana.
Oh, it's been such a pleasure. Already, our little chat before.
Yes.
After over a decade of legal research, Kelly Alexander founded Great American Tax Remedy to empower American taxpayers like you to liberate themselves from federal and state income taxes through powerful little-known banking laws that anyone legally working in the private sector can leverage. It's truly possible, legal, and simple to pay little or no income tax, and Kelly is going to show you how. She's the author of her upcoming book, From Fear to Freedom, Liberation from the U.S. Income Tax System, and has helped small business owners, professionals, W-2 wage earners, investors, etc., significantly reduce their taxes by tens of thousands of dollars by taking advantage of certain rights available to citizens under U.S. law, while at the same time lowering the U.S. national debt. Now, that's a big promise, Kelly. I'm going to hold you to it. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm not making the promise. I've just uncovered the reality that is available to all of us.
Wow, that is so exciting. So let's just start with the very basics now, because I don't think a lot of us really understand the topic at all. We just know what we've been told, right?
Right.
You know, like you're supposed to be bent over this far when you're 80. That's something we've been told. Not, but so how did income taxes start anyway? I mean, did we have them all the time? Has this been something since the Constitution was amended or whatever, or instituted? When did it start?
I love that question. Most people understand pretty well what the IRS is. However, most people do not understand much about the Federal Reserve, which is the institution that manages our monetary policy. The IRS would not exist if there was no central bank, i.e. the Federal Reserve. There was no IRS before 1913 when the Federal Reserve Act got legislated into existence.
1913.
1913. So a little over 100 years now. Everybody is so acclimated to, you know, the IRS, and this is the way it is, and this is normal. Prior to that, there was no IRS. There have been a few points along the way in American history when there was a temporary charter given to a central bank. In the early days, right after the Revolutionary War, there was a lot of war debts, and so there was a short-term perceived need for a central bank, and then there was a revenue board associated with it. Every time we've had a central bank, there has also been a revenue board. That's the only time that revenue boards exist, and that is because when the country's monetary policy is managed by a central bank, that incurs an obligation on the US government to pay back the money that's issued through that bank and to pay it back with interest. In order for the US government to make good on that contractual obligation, there is a tax on the money that the bank issues. In our current era, it's Federal Reserve notes. That's what the Federal Reserve does. They print money, they lend money, they set interest rates, they do a number of things. So the real reason we as taxpayers are paying the income tax is because we are using the Federal Reserve money, which is not obligatory, and we don't realize that there is another option available to us. And I'm here to share with you the other option.
Okay, can I ask another question? I know I've got so many.
Yeah.
When you said using Federal Reserve money is not obligatory, that means you don't have to use the dollar? Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying. Before the Federal Reserve Act was passed back in 1913, the Congress was responsible for issuing money into the economy directly without a third-party central bank. That's the way our country operated primarily up until that time, with those few exceptions that I mentioned. So there is in the banking law, not in the tax code, a statute that says the Federal Reserve notes shall be redeemed for lawful money on demand, either at the U.S. Treasury Department or at any Federal Reserve Bank. That statute is the basis for the tax remedy that I've uncovered and that I share and teach to people. So that's where obviously the statute says there's a choice. If you can redeem one species of money for another species of money, there you have it. So
redeeming means you're trading them out.
It's an exchange.
Turn it in, get a different one.
Yes. Now, in physical form, we will still hold in our wallet or in our purse the physical Federal Reserve notes. Back in the 1970s, the Treasury Department put out a statement saying that Federal Reserve notes can serve the purpose of both currencies equally. So it's just a matter of documenting which one of the two currencies that are available to us is the one that we choose to use. Again,
so we can call a spade a spade? Like you have greenbacks, that's a Federal Reserve dollar, right?
Yes.
But what you're saying is that you could name it the redeemed note rather than the Federal Reserve note now.
Yes. The other form of money is called United States notes.
United States notes.
Those come directly from the Congress.
Okay.
There is a statute also in the United States Code that talks about them, how they're issued, how many there are in circulation. They are distinct in nature from Federal Reserve notes. They are not a reserve currency. They are not an elastic currency. These are qualities that differentiate the two. Because United States notes do not incur an obligation on the government to be paid back to a third party and paid back at interest, that is what makes those exempt from the income tax.
Okay, so let's stop just a moment, because you're so smart that you're getting at the top of my understanding. So I want to break this down. So is this a different money, or is it the same dollar bill? It's a different dollar bill that says U.S. note or United States note, or it's the same note, just identified a different way, the same bill, same money?
Since 1970, it's represented by the same physical dollars in our wallet.
Who would change the meaning of it? I mean, since you got it from a bank, they said it's a Federal Reserve note, how would you then redeem it and trade it?
Okay, it's actually very simple. Let's say you get a paycheck from your job and you go to the bank to deposit that paycheck. It has to do with the way that you endorse it before you deposit it. We are taught to simply sign our name as the endorsement. When you sign your name, you're doing three things all at once. You are acknowledging that you are a volunteer user of the private credit of the Federal Reserve.
Mm-hmm.
You are endorsing the entire Federal Reserve System. And most important, you are pledging to be liable in the event that a nationwide financial collapse happens, that you will be surety for the national debt. We're never taught that.
Mm-mm.
At all. There is so much. I don't know if you've ever heard of something called the Kansas City Shuffle.
Mm-mm.
It's a description of a trickery going on where, you know, whoever is doing it will say, look over here, look over here. And they keep our attention and focus in an area.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, there's something much more important going on that's left in the shadows, unspoken about. So, and it's not that in this case that what's we're taught about the whole income tax is false. You know, we're told we need to pay our fair share. You know, taxes come every year. We fill out the 1040. We keep records to put on the tax return. Death and taxes are the only two absolutes. You know, there's all this languaging around taxes. And the Kansas City Shuffle in this case is that they do not tell us that if there was no Federal Reserve, there would be no IRS, because the IRS is the debt collection agency for the Federal Reserve.
Okay.
The whole premise is based on the presumption that we are using Federal Reserve notes, which is true 99.9999% of the time, only because people are unaware that they have another choice. That's the Kansas City Shuffle.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only money, that's the only way, that's the only system. That is the conditioning. It's really a paradigm shift, what I'm talking about. So I want to give you a little pause so you can.
Hey, well, thank you for pausing for a moment, because I have so many questions going on. First of all, very few people use checks anymore. I actually had to go and look up my checks because I had a landlord who wanted me to pay with a check, and I didn't have any. So what if you don't use checks?
So that's true. Most money is moving around electronically these days. If you are employed, typically your employer will pay you through direct deposit. If you have a business and you receive your income through credit card payments from your clients, that's another way that people receive money, or on PayPal, or all these different ways. So with direct deposit, There's a simple form that when you first become employed at your job, they give to you, and you fill out your name, your bank, your routing number, your account number, and you sign it. And you're basically authorizing the employer to deposit the money on your behalf straight into your account. So we use that document the same way as if we were endorsing the check.
Mm-hmm.
With our signature, there's some legal terminology that I now call magic words that go just in front of our signature. The magic words are: lawful money is demanded pursuant to Title 12, subsection 411. It's very simple. If they give you those 3 little lines,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's on a check or a line, and they fit in there just perfectly. That is your documentation that serves as evidence that you have shown which currency you're intending to use. That's it.
So when you fill out your direct deposit form,
Mhm.
And you sign that form,
Mhm.
you put those words in front of the signature on that form.
Correct.
Okay.
And then, I have a coaching process, and I show people what to do with that form in relationship to their tax return and in relationship to what the Title 12 actually asks for, which is that you make the demand either at the U.S. Treasury or at any Federal Reserve bank. And virtually every bank, even a credit union, all those things, those are all tied into the Federal Reserve system. Yeah.
Okay. So the money is in the bank, mixed up with everybody else's money. So what's the difference when you use it, when you spend it?
Okay, so it's not actually mixed up the same way. When the bank sees that wording, they are required to handle it a bit differently.
Okay.
They're not allowed to use it as a basis for loans. They cannot fractionally lend against it, which means they cannot continually expand our national debt through loans, whether they're consumer loans, mortgage loans, credit card loans, those kinds of things. They are supposed to hold that money in the vault because it is not a reserve currency, which means with Federal Reserve notes, the bank is required to hold 10% in reserve, and then they can creatively lend out on the other 90%. With this other money, the lawful money, the United States notes, they can't do that. So 100% of it is supposed to remain in their vault. Okay, so that's a little bit of difference for the bank. We don't really care what the bank does. It's really not our business.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I don't know literally what goes on in the banks. I just know what the law says. So
when you withdraw then?
Oh yes, when you withdraw, you've already deposited, and you've changed the nature of the money. You make payments or pay your bills or purchase things exactly the same way. There's no difference on the spending end. It's the receiving it in your bank account end that matters, especially for taxation, because we are taxed on income.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We've got more to come.
Yes.
I want to just take a little break here and make a couple of announcements as we get into this fascinating material. Oh my goodness. Okay. My 25-page ebook is on Amazon. Never Date a Narcissist Again. So if you've ever dated a narcissist and you don't want to do it again, but this isn't just about dating, because I found that I was attracting landlords, bosses, friends, coaches who were narcissists. And so if you just want to break the cycle, get that book. It's $2.99 over there on Amazon Kindle. Never date a narcissist again. Just do a search, find it, and use it. It is amazing material. I cracked the code because I was tired of it, and I want to share that with you. And then don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so. Leave a comment below. I know there's going to be some comments here. And the comments are going to be transferred over into Facebook. So we're going to do a little talking here, but we're also over on Facebook. Nowitsmyturn.com. Go over there. Kelly has got a banner up to represent the show. Go underneath that, put your comments, and she will get back to you, and we will get back to you. So do that. So if you haven't joined the Facebook group, go over there. Nowitsmyturn.com. Okay, here we go. Back to the topic. Okay, so what got you started on this journey? How did you discover this, and what made it important enough for you to dedicate your life to educating people?
Well, the first seed of, origination came when I was 16 years old, and I got my first job at a fast food restaurant, and they gave me a W-4 form, and it says on there, about what exemptions you can claim. And there was a box that says, if you paid no taxes last year and you expect to pay no taxes this year, you can write exempt. And I saw that and I thought, wow, they're telling us there's a way to be exempt. How the heck about that? And it was just like the grain of sand in the proverbial oyster, and that gnawed at me for probably 30 years. I never really did anything about it. It was much, like I said, many years later when I started learning about the Federal Reserve through I was doing stock and option trading on the stock market. Mm. And so my awareness of the Federal Reserve was growing. I learned about a fantastic book called The Creature from Jekyll Island. If your guests aren't familiar with that book, it's written in 1994 by E.G. Griffin. He did an incredible expose of the Federal Reserve, how it was formed, how it operates, and really what a monstrosity it is for our economy and our nation. And so, anyway, it's a great read. It doesn't offer the solution, however. That's where I come in. And I started just getting other little grains of sand come into my awareness as the decades went by. I started learning more about the Constitution and the founding of the country and what the founding fathers envisioned for the citizens, for we the people. They never ever intended a central bank to run the monetary system. Never. They lived under it in Europe. They knew how dreadful it was. And so they gave that power in our Constitution to the Congress to issue the money directly. So Congress never lost that power when they delegated it or passed the Federal Reserve legislation. So both exist now. And I've lost my train of thought. oh, my story, yes. So yes, I started learning about, Constitution and laws, and little by little I did research. I started to get a sense that maybe there's more to this IRS than meets the eye. And I found a group that was teaching a process, and I followed it. This was way back in 2008 tax year. And it turned out there was some elements of that process that were of merit, and there were some parts of that process that were flawed. My husband and I filed a tax return that led to a pretty sizable refund, and that refund wasn't based on money we had paid in. It was based on banking activity in this method. And so about some months later, after receiving the refund, we started getting letters and knocks on the door from IRS saying we needed to pay it back. We shouldn't have gotten that refund. And that was a big part of my learning curve, dealing with the IRS in the most uncomfortable, unpleasant way.
Mm.
We had a particularly, my husband and I, very aggressive revenue officer. I had my paycheck levied. 2/3 of it was levied because she was just angry. I went to a tax help service and they said, oh yes, we can help you. They ended up making it worse. I mean, it was a train wreck, to be honest. It was awful. But it led me to the remedy. I knew in my gut, okay, I got this wrong. This was this, and there are, you know, theories that people come up with in their frustration or anger at the IRS. And that part is understandable, but can be risky because it's not tested, or it's, like I say, a combination of fact and fiction. And if there's fiction in there, you're gonna run into some challenges that are unpleasant. So I've gone that road. I understand how the IRS operates. I understand better now how to communicate with them. IRS does have an enormous amount of authority, and that authority is to tax those that use the Federal Reserve notes. However, they don't have the authority to tax anything else. So that's where we can safely and easily just step away from their authority. Many people have been conditioned to fear the IRS. I understand, you know, we've all been doused with that to varying degrees. However, if you were to embark on the process that I teach, you actually have less risk of being audited. You're actually safer because you're stepping away from the authority of the IRS. You no longer need to deal with those 86,000 pages and growing of tax code that changes and morphs year after year. You don't need to wade through all of that to get a tax deduction, because you're simply using the currency that isn't taxable. So it simplifies your life. It makes you actually safer. The perception may be different as far as safety, you know, and that's part of how I coach people. Undoing the conditioning is much harder than doing the process. The process is simple and elegant and beautiful. The conditioning is the challenge. So, yeah, that's the world we're living in. And I've been doing this now in my own life for 6 years. I have clients now. I have one client, I remember his first year working with me, he did not have to write a $50,000 check to IRS because of my process. Instead, he got an $800 refund. He called me the day he got the refund. He says, Kelly, he says, I got the refund. He says, and you're the only one I can tell who will understand.
Yeah.
And he's told me since then, you revived my business. He says, I was under such weight knowing that I had that liability. I wasn't sure if my business could function had I, you know, needed to pay that. And so, you know, he thanks me all the time.
Mm.
Yeah. So
Conditioning is one of the most difficult things that we all work with,
yes.
because our lives from the time we enter kindergarten all the way through, we're conditioned in many, many ways for many, many things. And we kind of sleepwalk through it, and we just kind of bumble along and bounce off the walls, and we navigate our life that way. And in my own journey, I realized that conditioning is a mindset, and it is easily changed as long as we're willing to approach it. First of all, to see it, and then to actually approach it. So what would be your answer to someone who just simply afraid? They're just afraid to take action to do this.
Well, first I would say I really, my heart goes out to you because I have been where you have been. I know that fear. And in this case, confronting the conditioning with the IRS and all that, it's not, well, I'm not sure how to compare it with undoing other forms of conditioning, because these laws and these rights that we do have are very well tucked away. They're not spoken of. You won't hear it from the media. You won't hear it from the financial services industry. You won't hear it in our education systems. You won't hear it anywhere. So, but that means that the Kansas City Shuffle is alive and functioning exactly the way it's intended.
Yes.
So, as you know, if you were to go through my coaching, I explain to you the laws very carefully. I show you the case sites. I give you testimonials. I mean, there's so many things that I can share with you to make the path safe, you know, doable. And I give a 100% money back guarantee. My fee, any fees for enforcement. There is a possibility that someone could get challenged if they do this process. I was challenged over a year ago, which I was praying for and got my wish granted. And I did the appropriate paperwork, and the IRS has gone entirely silent. Nothing, absolutely nothing. They have a tool on their website where you can create an account that shows you year by year by year what you owe. You know, it just has, you know, just useful information. And for the 2 years that they challenged, I show a zero balance owed, as well as for every other year that I've done this, which has been since 2014. And to be fair, most IRS agents are not familiar with this method either. If they were, they probably would not be working for the IRS. Mm-hmm. They just wouldn't. So there is an element of a leap of faith at the beginning, but I'm your best guide because I have walked this path. I have done it. I have had 100% success with every one of my clients. And I just would love, love, love to share the freedom that I have found. Mm. It's available. Yeah. It's the way that the founding fathers intended our system to run. I have such reverence for what they created, for we the people. Mm. And it's only the illusions that are in the way of reaching our real destiny, you know, our real calling in life, our real highest self expression. And this is just part of my expression, you know, from me out to all of you.
Well, I feel like the universe brought you here today because you came in like a last minute substitution for someone. And the referral that I got, I trust this person implicitly. I'm like, sure, bring her on, you know. And I feel so strongly because of my own journey. And this is interesting because this is like opening a new topic for our show. Probably gonna talk more about this later. Mm-hmm. I have been prompted by my guides, my guidance, to get rid of my smartphone that I've had a smartphone ever since there were smartphones. I had a BlackBerry before that. But the invasiveness of our lives, and yeah, the 5G stuff and all that, I mean, yeah, the signals are not good. But what really offends me is that when I have a conversation in my kitchen about something weird, like a cage for a pet snake, and the next thing within 20 minutes, I'm having snake cages on YouTube, on my Facebook ads, and this is giving me chills. And after months and months of this, I mean, I threw away Alexa a long time ago because I saw it working when I wasn't wanting it to do something. Because it is time, and this is one of the things that's happened during all this stuff that's happened in 2020 in the channeling that I did. I'm really opening up to you about my spiritual self. Mm-hmm. But to say that this is a global shift more into the positive energies, breaking the hold of the negative energies around us that have kept us captive. And we've been so unaware of it, but we've been such prisoners of it. And one of the things is the tracking of our very words in our privacy of our homes. And even stopping at a store and going in and grabbing something, and the GPS on my Google phone is now sending me ads for similar stores because I was there, and the mapping is tracking me.
Yeah.
And so stepping away from that, it's taken me about 2 months to put it together where I can let it go. But because it's so many things, so many facets in there, you know, that you use all the time. And so what I see, that is just an example of the shift that's coming, that's here, I should say, where we are getting in alignment and taking charge of our lives at a deeper level. And it is a quieting, it is a calmness and a feeling of serenity instead of the pressures that we've been under for so long that we don't even realize are there anymore. We're so used to carrying this burden until finally we can take it off and we go, what was I doing? How did I let that happen for so long? So I just feel so much that this conversation is a big part of all of this other that is happening, healthcare and food and so many different areas of our lives. And so I just want to say thank you for your contribution while we're all over here tinkering in our little domain. And all of a sudden we come forward into the public and we're like, whoa, you've been doing that?
Yes.
Awesome. So we are well over the time we normally go, but I really don't care. So tell us how we can get more, stay connected with you, how we can access resources to get more.
Sure. I have a website called mytaxremedy.com. You can go there. I have a free little ebook that describes the concept in a little more detail. Also, you can email me at info@mytaxremedy. I'd be happy to speak with you, just hear where you're at, see what's possible for you, if this makes sense. And I love talking to people, and I love sharing. And wherever you're at, I'll meet you, and we'll just see what can blossom from there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kelly. It's been great.
Thank you, Lana.
We'll talk soon. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Wow, that was great. Really awesome. Okay, as we always do at the end of the broadcast, I'm going to do a little process here. One of the things I find when talking about money is fear. There's a lot of fear around it. I've had a lot of fear around it. I've had to go and have work done on myself around this fear around money thing. I had my son works in a bank, and he comes and helps me with my finances, not because I don't know how, I definitely know how, but I got so anxious that I would start to break out in a cold sweat, and I just couldn't look at it because I was too scared. And there's a whole story behind that. I don't want to spend time on that, but because he was with me, sitting with me, I could do it, and I could, get my affairs in order, which he helped me do. And I'm so grateful for that. But there is so much core fear around money, and taxes is one of the most fearful things that we face, I think, as Americans. I always dread the 1st of January because I know that is coming as a small business owner. So, okay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to give you some tools, a little bit of tools for help. Now, money is a multi-layered thing. It's like relationships. You can't just do a process and then your relationships are all cleaned up from there on out, because money is a very deep thing with a lot of facets to it. And if we were working together in a one-on-one situation, we would unpack some things about your past and what your attitudes where your attitudes came from, things like that, to clear them. But this is a process that I use a lot for in the moment fear, for in the moment emotions that feel overwhelming. And it's very simple. It's a pretend game. This is one of my favorites. And you can go to my website, lanamcara.com, and download this on a video to your phone. So you still have your smartphone. So you have it. So when you start to feel this anxiety and this pressure, you can do this process. Just follow the video and clear it and throw it away and be done with it and go on with your day in a more calm, stable feeling way. It really does work. Okay. So what we do, first of all, you think about the thing you want to, that you're feeling. Think about your feeling. You need to focus on it for just a moment, not to make it bigger, but just to kind of analyze it. So we're just going to look at it like we're looking at, an object, like you found something and you're going to just say, okay, let's take a look at that. First of all, there's going to ask you some questions. And you're going to identify it a little bit more closely. Where is it on your body? Where are you feeling that feeling on your body? Is it in your stomach, your heart? Sometimes people have felt things in their head. When working with me, shoulders are big. Where are you feeling that constriction or that heat or whatever that feeling is, that stress? Okay, what color is it? And when I say what color is it, that's assigning it a color. Just the first color that comes to your mind. Like, what color is it? Okay, it's yellow. Okay, let's say yellow today. All right, it's yellow. Okay, so let's just play a pretend game now. Pretend that yellow color, I'm saying it's in my chest today. Yellow color in my chest. It's like a little pile of cotton candy in there. It's just a little pile of yellow cotton candy. That's what that feeling is. It's right there. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull the cotton candy out and pile it up in my hand. And so wherever it is, just pull it out. And you might actually feel a rush of heat when you're pulling it, because this is really working. Your mind sees it as a real thing. The beauty of these processes I do is that you don't have to experience the feeling in order to dissolve it. You can just dissolve it. Okay. And here you have a ball, a pile of this color of energy. It's a feeling energy. Just make sure you got it all, because sometimes, it'll crawl a little bit. Just pull it out wherever it might have crawled over to. Now you have it here in your hands. And now the next step, take the edges of that pile of energy and stretch it out into a flat screen TV. And put a border around it. So you have it in a rectangular shape. And inside is all this colored energy. Now, when you pulled it out like that, it turned into a video. Now, it has movement, it has colors, but you can't really see it. It's like out of focus. There you have this video of this feeling. And if you wanted to just like do a little test on it, you could do it. Stretch it bigger and see what happens to the feeling. Get it smaller, see what happens to the feeling. See? If you push it out from you, see what happens to the feeling. Pull it closer, see what happens to the feeling. It's real. Okay, so you have it here. So now on the bottom of this frame, you just pretend you have a little knob. Now this knob is going to blank out or gray out the screen. You're just going to turn the knob, and whatever that movement, whatever that video is playing, it's just getting dimmer and dimmer. Just dim it out. It could go white, black, gray, doesn't matter. Just dim it until it's all blank. Just keep turning till you blank it out. Now take your finger, and inside the frame now, this blank frame, you're going to write the lessons you learned. Okay, because of this in the past. The lessons you learned because of this. Sometimes we don't want to let go of things because we figure, I learned a lesson, I better keep that one. Well, we're going to write that down, record it. You don't have to know what you're writing. Your subconscious mind knows. You don't have to consciously think it. Just write and let your subconscious mind get it out, because it will. And if sometimes I get a little impatient, I'll write with all 5 fingers at one hand. My mind can handle 5 things at once. And I just write, fill that frame, fill it up until you get a feeling like, okay, got it all. Okay, just write. Sometimes I get a little vehement. Write. Get it all down there. Just get it out. Okay, and when you're done, take the corners of the frame, squeeze them down into a DVD. Top, squeeze it down into a DVD. Now you've got it right here. Take a deep breath, hold it up over your head. It's my favorite part. Ready? Throw it over your head as hard as you can against the back wall. Bam! Take your 2 nail guns, nail to the wall. Bam, 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 bam! Take a deep breath. Notice the change. Notice the change in your body. Notice the change in your mind. Now take a little test. Just notice the space you pull that energy out of. Is it all gone? Is it gone? Can you recreate it in there? Most of the time, about 95% of the time, it's gone. If it's still there, so the little seeds there, just do the process again. You can do it again, but go over and download that video. You can do it as often as you want. LanaMcAra.com. Go get it. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to seeing you next time. Bye now.